Hello, everyone. Happy Tuesday. It's not necessarily a victory Tuesday, I suppose, since the Vikings are coming off the bye week, but I hope everyone was able to rest and relax and just sit back and enjoy football on Sunday. Wasn't that nice? It's so nice to just not have that stress and just be able to see what's going on in the rest of the league. But we're back from bye week, and we have a very, very, very much anticipated showdown this Sunday, NFC North with the Lions. I think we're going to learn a lot about our favorite team and where we stand. But there's a ton to get into. The Vikings just made a trade today. And good thing I've got my good pal, Dustin Baker, here with me to break it all down. So let's get into it. Hi, Dustin.
Yo, how are you?
I'm good. Welcome back to Skoldiers and Spice. How are you?
Not bad. I really didn't think that we'd still be undefeated by the time that we talked again, mainly because of traditional Viking cynicism. But alas, they're still undefeated, and they put that streak on the line Sunday.
I know. There's so many things to talk about. I mean, I'm nervous, but I'm confident. How are you feeling?
I feel confident about this one. It's morbid to feel that way after the Lions lost their best defensive player, but that's the reality. And one of the things I said on a different show this summer is I want to get to the point where the Vikings play an opponent, especially on the road, so maybe not this one, where we don't have that dreaded feeling in the pit of our stomachs like, oh, it's prime time on the road, they're probably going to lose. And slowly, gradually, I'm getting there. I'm going to Los Angeles in 1 week. And barring some complete catastrophe this weekend or an injury, I feel great about them winning that game. And I know the Rams aren't gangbusters, but I think this is a testament to the head coach, and I am so damn excited for Vikings Lions.
I know, me too. But okay, we'll chat about that in a second because I want to wait for some people to get in here. And some trades went down this afternoon across the league. I had a dentist appointment this afternoon, and I am one of those people who is just terrified of the dentist. So I had to take a chill pill. So I took a little bit of a nap this afternoon. So I kind of missed what was going on. Fill me in. There was a big trade to the Jets that I think a lot of people anticipated might happen. But then last week, it seemed like the rumors were maybe it's not going to happen. Fill me in on those details.
Yeah, it was. Well, first of all, on the dentist thing, my wife is exactly like you. She hates the dentist, so there's nothing wrong with taking it easy like that. So for some reason, like general managers got the memo today that, hey, it's time to go do trades, and we still have 3 weeks before the deadline. So it was an unexpectedly glorious day for that kind of action. Davante Adams, to the shock of zero people, ended up with the Jets. Kind of curious timing because they got a battle back from 2-4 in a really competitive AFC. That was like a conditional third rounder, so the price kind of makes sense.
Oh.
And then Amari Cooper, who was quietly on the trade block, who I thought if the Vikings wanted to spend what I thought would be a fifth rounder, because that's what he was got for last time. I thought Vikings could be interested. They weren't, or at least they didn't win the bid. And Amari Cooper goes to the Bills, a team that is starved for a WR1s because Stephon Diggs departed. And so the Bills got a win last night. Now they have a new WR1. And I think that one, what was the price? I think that was also a conditional third rounder, conditional third or fourth. I can't remember exactly what it is. And then these very Vikings, while I was dog trick-or-treating with my Basset Hounds, fired off a trade for Cam Akers. So we have back-to-back years of Cam Akers trades.
I know, it's crazy. I mean, first of all, those are two big names that didn't go for too high of a price. I'm surprised to hear that it was conditional picks.
It was age.
Yeah, and also I don't know their contract details if they didn't have much time. I saw that Davante restructured part of his deal, so maybe that's why. But Cam Akers. That was what week last year did they make that trade with the Rams? Right?
Oh, that was still September, I believe. I think it was around week 3. I want to say it was like September 20-ish is my best guess without Googling it.
Yeah.
And I wondered, when I saw, I had a feeling they were going to trade for a running back. I thought maybe Miles Sanders from the Panthers, but his contract's too expensive. I thought maybe one of the Broncos' 5 running backs. The first thought I have as a cynical bastard was, why did they just sign him back in the summer? The guy was there for the 10 game. In fact, ESPN reported that he signed with the Vikings pending a physical, and then on their transaction page, it's still there. It never came to fruition. But a conditional 6th rounder, and then the Vikings got a conditional 7th rounder. It's just a free trade. And I love it because Akers was a dog last year for a few games. He scored the first rushing touchdown of the year. I enjoy that we have some insurance, because the one knock in the world at all on Aaron Jones are injuries, and boom, he's dealing with a hip injury. I think Aaron Jones will play this weekend, but that doesn't matter. He could get hurt again. And if so, you'd have a Ty Chandler and Cam Akers sandwich rather than Ty Chandler and Myles Gaskin.
Right. Yeah. It's good to get depth at the position because, like you said, he is injury prone. But you think then that it's not an indication that he's not ready to go this week. It's just for depth purposes.
That is I have a couple of pretty solid sources that I've developed over these 5 years. One of them said that there's a 0 chance that TJ Hawkinson plays this weekend. But in terms of Aaron Jones, the quote was, should be good to go. And I believe he's been at practice so far. So I would expect, from my purview right now, no Hawkinson, but he'll be back on Thursday Night Football. Otherwise, he has to go back to IR. And I do expect Jones to play. And I think it's just playing the long game, because I expect Jones to get hurt again. This is what happens to old running backs. This is the risk. And we saw what happened against the Jets. The offense fundamentally died the moment he went to the sidelines. So I think Cam Akers can help move the needle a little bit more, or at least if Ty Chandler is in his little fumbling woe that he had against the Jets. So I like having more running back depth. Above all else, I like that they care about being able to run the football.
Absolutely, which is a big change after we lost Cam last year. That got pretty ugly. So I'm happy to have him back, and they didn't give up much. It's a very similar trade as last year, but I thought too they could have had him in training camp, but whatever. He's here now. It all worked out. Okay, I said I'm going to do a better job at the chat tonight, so I'm going to read in here. I saw Mary was here. Hey, girl. And SKOL Mafia, you're always so supportive. Good to see you here as well. The font size is a little small in here. I'm gonna have to get some glasses on so I can read them. But thanks, guys, for checking in. Okay, speaking of sources, I have somebody who I thought was a very, very reliable source tell me that Dalton Risner was going to be cut after camp and be released. Someone who's very close to the situation, and that was incorrect. But he has been elevated back to be able to practice. And a lot of people are scratching their heads. Where is he going to fit in here on this offensive line? Is he even going to end up playing? What is your opinion on that?
So Ed Ingram has struggled in a few games this year tremendously, like bad pass blocking struggles. You have a really unique thing right now where Dalton Risner is a very adept pass blocker and just a mid or poor run blocker. Ed Ingram, it's the opposite. Ed Ingram is what we know as a Vikings fan from the last decade, a guy who can run block, but a guy who can't pass protect worth a shit. So where I see Risner, I think they're going to, I don't have this from sourcing, this is my personal opinion. I think they're going to do exactly what they did last year, where they keep the continuity and they bank on that. Hey, Ed Ingram, 2nd rounder, he's going to improve. But the moment Ingram or Brandel get hurt and Risner come in, I doubt that Risner gives up his job. We saw this blueprint last year. It led to the Ezra Cleveland trade. I think there's something to be said, for better or worse, about continuity in the offensive line. The Vikings, like every single guy, has taken every single snap this year on the Vikings offensive line. And interestingly, I don't know if you saw the quote today from Dalton Risner. He said, "I've been ready to go. I've been healed up." So it's kind of weird that they've slow rolled this just for shits and giggles. And it kind of leads me to believe that maybe it's not a priority to toss him right back in the starting lineup, but they signed him for 1 year, a deal with incentives up to $2.4 million. I think he is the almighty contingency plan the moment Blake Brandel or Ed Ingram get hurt. And by the way, Risner said he can play either one today. He reiterated he'll play wherever they need him to.
which is a relief because he had said at the beginning of camp when he came back, he's like, I've never played right guard before.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really know how that's going to go. And it seemed like it was a surprise to him that that's why they had brought him back, and he didn't realize that until he was already here. So I am happy to hear that that was his attitude about it, and that he does seem eager to come back and play, because I know that back issue was pretty nagging for him. So yeah, always good to have depth. It'll be interesting to see where he fits in and when they start working him in at all. But it's quite a different polar opposite scenario with the offensive line than we have seen probably the last decade at least
Mm-hmm.
this year. So really happy about that.
It's
All right.
really changed since Kevin O'Connell got here. It hasn't turned into an elite front five, but it's pretty damn good. And we went through a lot of the Zimmer era, staring at rankings 25th, 26th, 27th, and that's one of my favorite parts about Kevin O'Connell on this team, is that you can trust him to cultivate the offensive line. Because you will be hard-pressed to go through any segment of NFL history where a team gets deep in the postseason or wins the Super Bowl with some shitty offensive line. It virtually doesn't happen.
Exactly. Well, speaking of Kevin O'Connell and things we can count on him for, that teams of Vikings past we could not, is winning after the bye week.
Mm-hmm.
Historically, I feel that the Vikings usually come back very rusty. They seem like maybe they rested a little too much during the bye week. And in Kevin O'Connell's first two seasons, they did win the week after the bye week. In 2022, they beat Arizona 34-26. And then last year we had that real barn burner against the Raiders 3-0, which we'll give him credit for it. I mean, it was a win. But how do you feel about that in the preparation after the bye week? Because it always comes to my mind, Mike Zimmer, the whole fat cats get slaughtered when they were undefeated that season, and then after that, it was just all downhill from there. When
Yeah, even
he supposedly really hung up like stuffed animals and things of cats getting slaughtered. I would love to see footage of that, but
so even with the really good parts of the Zimmer era, the first 5 seasons, you could always have that to remember, the post bye week woes. And then I always mobile quarterbacks, no matter what their name was, they always gave the Zimmer defense fits. Those are two negatives that I remember, but I enjoy the post bye preparation this time because it's fresh off of London, and then you're playing one of the most anticipated and consequential regular season games of the decade. I really can't remember, like seriously,
yeah.
like thinking about a game that I will be driving to thinking, holy shit, what a game. Like I always get excited, but this feels like a playoff game in terms of, God, what's going to happen? Both these teams are titans of industry right now. So I like that they've been able to be the team that has prepared for 2 weeks now for it. And I've got to a point where I trust Kevin O'Connell. And I didn't necessarily have that halfway through last year. I loved what he was able to do with Josh Dobbs. But when the team face planted down the stretch, the defense died. I was like, all right, this guy's still got a way to go, head coach. But this year, with his ability to stand by Sam Darnold and make the thing click, I'm putting O'Connell in that tier of, like a pantheon. I'm like, oh God, this guy can really do no wrong. So I am excited that they should be prepared after the bye, but I won't be utterly shocked if the Lions were to win, for example, but I do have confidence that the Vikings will find a way to win.
Same here. Okay, like I got to get to managing the chat as of before we completely move on to the game. Anthony wants to know, Dustin, if you think that they are going to rotate Reisner in on pass plays and use him as a decoy against Detroit on run play. The decoy angle.
It would be cool, but that's more of like a defense thing. On pass rushing downs, you bring in those horses like, DJ Wanhams of yesteryear. I don't know that you would screw up the offensive continuity just to get a pass blocker in. So no, I would say probably not. I think they will go full both feet with either guy, whichever one they decide. I think it'll be Ingram with a short leash to Reisner.
Agreed. Okay. Hi, Thor Nystrom. I see that you're in the chat tonight. So thank you for coming in. And then cause and effect, we both did just say that we are excited that Cam is back for the depth purposes. And he was doing really well last year before he unfortunately tore his Achilles. Okay. I want to mention this. So you and I had an exchange with Scott Van Pelt earlier this week of ESPN because I had been listening to a segment. It was late on Sunday and it was with Tim Hasselbeck. And I'm bringing this up because I see people in the chat talking about how the Vikings are being disrespected. And I found this to be extremely disrespectful because they were talking about the NFC North and the records there and how unbelievable it is and how tight it is. And Tim Hasselbeck said that he fully expects Jared Goff and Jordan Love to pull apart from the pack and take their teams to the playoffs because the very first thing he mentioned was cold weather. He trusts them more in cold weather. And I'm thinking, I have this Viking schedule memorized. There is no cold weather. Like the reason that we have 4 home games in December. The only outside games that we even have is in Chicago, November 24th. That could be cold. And then Seattle towards the end of December, which I looked at the average temperature, it's 50 degrees. So of course that was just a boneheaded take. And we know the national guys don't pay attention to the Vikings, whatever. But Scott Van Pelt did end up responding to the tweets, and we had an exchange with him, which is awesome. But I wanted to bring that up because I've had a few exchanges with Scott Van Pelt over the years. He's just the best. I mean, he gets thousands and thousands of tweets, I bet, like per hour. And he, takes the time to interact with people, which is awesome. But a few years ago, it was when Kirk Cousins I was on my Kirk Cousins apology tour. And I was defending Kirk Cousins against something that Scott Van Pelt said, and he had actually quote tweeted me that time. And my long lost stepbrother that I haven't seen in like 20 years or spoken to even saw Scott Van Pelt's quote tweet of me. And that's how we got back in touch and like mended our relationship.
What?
Yeah.
Really?
All thanks to Scott Van Pelt. So I just wanted to share that story because it's just crazy how things like that happen.
Yeah, it's also crazy that story happened within the last few years and I haven't heard anything about it.
I know. I completely forgot about it until I had this interaction with him again. Was my camera just...
No, we were good. On my part of that exchange, I wasn't even dialoguing Scott Van Pelt. I had written an article on Vikings territory. There was something called Woodward Sports, and it was a podcast. Some guy, I believe Neil Rule, I think he's a Lions fan, was talking about Vikings Lions coming up in the distance. When you're a crappy team, you get an easy schedule, and that's the way it works. It's designed for everybody. And the Vikings are 5-0. And yes, they finished in third place last year, but they very vividly don't have a easy last place or third place schedule. So when I brought that up on Twitter, that's what I was talking about, how there's a take for everything. And the Vikings have played 4 Super Bowl contending teams within the last 4 weeks, like in the top 12 of Super Bowl odds. So they're doing the opposite. They're 5-0 against all odds against a murderer's row schedule.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was what we were so scared of going into this season was the schedule, especially to start. And that's why I had them. I'm going to have to do my apology segment to the Vikings here in maybe like 2 weeks, which I'm going to be very happy to do. And now, this is going to be the softer part of the schedule. Although I did see someone tweet on my timeline that they were saying that the Vikings have the 8th hardest schedule going forward. Mm-hmm. Did you see that or do you agree with that? I thought that was weird.
I did not see that. And I think what that person probably meant is on the whole, the way that it has shaped out, because right now it turns not to smooth sailing because this is the Vikings, for God's sake, but the schedule pales in comparison to what we've seen. All of the AFC teams are kind of a joke. The Jaguars, the Titans, and the Colts, depending on how Anthony Richardson turns out. The division games will not be easy. We already know that. And then the fillers are Seattle, who's looked very pedestrian in the last 3 weeks. The Cardinals, hot and cold. So the rest of the schedule, to me, looks very appealing. And the adage is, if you can beat the 49ers, you beat the shit out of the Texans, you should be able to handle the Titans and Jaguars, for example.
Yeah, absolutely. That Jaguars game could be really ugly for them. I need to figure out a way to get down there because how passionate I am about going to Jacksonville. and
Mm-hmm.
kind of took a back seat, but now I got to figure out how to get there. But we have 69 people here watching Skoldiers and Spice on Vikings First and SKOL. If you guys can like and subscribe, that would really mean a lot to me. So don't forget to do that. And all right, let's move on. Okay, so we were talking about the Lions game. I can't remember a regular season game that had this much hype, this much importance at all, let alone a mid-season
Mm-hmm.
October 20th game. It's just crazy how much hype is going. And I know US Bank is going to be explosive. The cheapest ticket that I have seen all week is $235 just to get in, like before
Mm-hmm.
fees. So with fees, that's going to be close to $300. I don't remember Lions game last year. Yeah, I want to say it was last year. We got in for $50. And
Mm-hmm.
this was like the end of September. We got in for $50 and we sat in like the 17th row of the lower level. So this is a huge night and day difference from how people felt about the team last year, obviously. But $300 to get in there. So it's going to be crazy. I don't think that there is even going to be many Lions fans there. It will be interesting to see how many of them show up. But all right, going into that, you mentioned the Aiden Hutchinson injury, just absolutely devastating for them. I'm devastated. He's one of my favorite players to watch in the league. He's just so explosive, and I'm bummed for him. How do you think that's going to affect their pass rush? I think they're going to have to completely rework everything.
Yeah, well, their biggest problem a week ago would have been the pass rush is too dependent on Aiden Hutchinson, kind of like we would have said about Daniil Hunter at pretty much any year of the last four. And thankfully, for their sake, their defense ranks 9th per EPA per play overall. So it's not one of those years where their offense is top 3 and then their defense is shitty. No, they're quite good, but Aiden Hutchinson has a lot to do with that. They're already without Vikings legend Marcus Davenport, who was lost for the season about 2 or 3 weeks ago. So they are down to nubbins via pass rush. So that's the tipping point for me that says I believe the Vikings can win this game. They're at home. The pass rush for the Lions is diminished. And then I looked this up because it feels so weird over these last 72 hours to think about Vikings Lions in this light, where you're like, holy shit, I can't wait for Vikings Lions. We never feel that way. And in
No.
fact, this has never happened. The Vikings have never met the Lions in a mid-season situation where the records are this good. The closest time was at franchise inception, like 61 years ago, where both teams were 5-1 going into the game. And so this has never happened. That's why this feels so unique. I think it also helps that the Vikings are undefeated. We want to see if that streak continues. And one of the coolest aspects about this, Sally, is at 3:45 p.m. Sunday, we're either going to text each other or you're going to turn to somebody at your tailgate and be like, holy shit, these Vikings are for real. Or you're going to say, these are the Vikings. What do we expect? Of course, they were going to lose this game. So we're going to know for sure what we're dealing with. Is it going to be the same old, like, oh, yep. I mean, it won't be the end of days. It'll just be like, all right, we're not quite that good. But if they beat the Lions, then they're going to establish themselves as the 1A, 1B front runner along with the 49ers, who nobody really gives up on.
Yeah, if they first of all, I'm stocking up on bottles of bubbly for the after game party at the tailgate. If they do win this game, I'm telling everybody bring at least one bottle. So we will be celebrating until it's dark out for sure. I don't know if I necessarily agree though. I think it depends on how they lose if I'm going to feel that way. If it's a tight game and I feel like they didn't, shoot themselves in the foot, they didn't have a bunch of turnovers, I don't know if it will change my opinion on them. Now, if they completely just get run over, I gotta change my camera. That's not good. If they completely get run over, then yeah. Whoa. Okay, you talk for a second while I improvise
Yeah,
this.
I would not turn into a bitter bitch that's like, oh, they lost the Lions, I'm out. I guess what I should clean up my statement is we would pump the brakes on this being the almighty team that is destined to get to February football. If they lose to the Lions, whether it's by a field goal, one of the freakish plays you've ever seen, whether it's 37-10, we'd all look at each other and be like, well, they had to lose sometime. The Lions are clearly the cream of the crop. I'm sure the 49ers will be there in late January. But all of that is out the window if the Vikings win, take care of business. And then we talked about the schedule opening up. They're going to have the Rams, who I'm sure will be a thorn in the side. They won't be easy. But after that, this is really a schedule that's designed to navigate. It's not that tricky. Perhaps the Bears and the Falcons games are the trickiest ones left. I love that I am optimistic about this game in general. This would usually be a game. You have memories of 2016, memories of 2003. After the bye, they're going to look like poop. I just don't feel that way. I think they're balanced enough and well coached enough, and I trust Sam Darnold. I don't want him to be the quarterback of the future. That's what J.J. McCarthy's for, but I trust Sam Darnold inside this season.
I absolutely agree with all of that. Okay, so I recovered from that technical difficulty much faster than I anticipated. So this is my first time on a live stream that I've used an external camera, and it said it was overheating. So now we know that it lasts about 25 minutes. So that's its maximum. But I saw someone in the chat. I think it was maybe Thor. I've lost it now. He wants to know why I want to go to Jacksonville so bad. And there's a lot of reasons for that, Thor. I'm so happy that you asked. First of all, I want to go to every NFL stadium. That is a goal of mine. Other than Philadelphia, I have no desire to go there. And until the Bears get a new stadium, I don't really want to go there either. Just heard too many horror stories about those. But Jacksonville, for one, they only go there every 8 years, and they have been approved for a new stadium. So it is probably going to be the last opportunity that I have to be inside of a pool and watch a Vikings game. Like, that's probably never going to happen again. So that's one of the reasons. And then also, I just love going to games in cities that I would normally never visit. For example, Cincinnati, Ohio, there would be no reason that I would ever travel there if it wasn't to see the Vikings. And I did, and I absolutely loved the city. It was so fun. I feel like it's such an underrated place. And so now I know that about Cincinnati, and maybe I'll go back sometime. But that's why I really like going to the places. Everyone wants to go to Nashville. All the Vikings fans want to go to Nashville. Good for you guys. But I don't really necessarily want to go to the bachelorette party capital of the world for a Vikings game. I can go there for a million other reasons, but Jacksonville, probably not. So I really hope I can make it there. I've been looking at the tickets, and the airfare has went down. So there's your story, Thor. SKOL Mafia wants to know about Norway. Dustin, if you want to share about that.
Yeah, so my wife and our family were avid travelers. That's like our thing. And Norway is the coolest place that I've ever been to. Now, I will say, I am biased because my heritage is overwhelmingly Norwegian, and then I got some Irish in there too. And we're going to Ireland in July next summer. But the coolest part about Norway is I thought we'd go there and we'd see the cool stuff, but in between driving into the cool stuff, it would just be regular old farmland. The entire country is beauty. Like, everywhere you go is fjords, oceans, like just mountains. Like, there's no break in the action ever in terms of sheer awe and beauty. So my good friend Yannick Eckhart met us in Norway for that week and a half we were there. And yeah, I will go back there for certain before I die. It was that fantastic. And then the temperature was right up my alley. The whole time it was like 59, 60 degrees. I hate hot weather. And so, yeah, it was cool like that. And yeah, it was the most beautiful place certainly that I've ever been. And even Yannick Eckhart, who went to United Kingdom over the last 2 weeks for the Vikings win and then went to go see the Jaguars and Bears, he'd send me pictures of Scotland and he'd joke and be like, yeah, this is pretty mid compared to Norway. So that's really the standard now. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh my God, cool. Well, I'll have to put that on the list. You just always think of the other popular ones in Europe that everyone goes to. Other than my friend Nadine goes to Spain a lot because she says that's very cost of the exchange rate and everything. I mean, obviously it's the euro, but your money goes a lot further in Spain, she says. But Norway, I'll have to get there because I'm also Norwegian, as I think many of us Minnesotans are.
Well, that's the disclaimer, that is the opposite in Norway. Everything was expensive as hell. So make sure you're really saving up. Everything was spendy.
Oh, okay. Good to know. And I just started doing this last tailgate. If you ever can't find the tailgate, you just look for the Norwegian flag. Then you will find it. It's the only Norwegian flag in the parking lot. And I remember this now because so last season someone came up to me and they said, why does the people next to you have a Confederate flag? And I'm like, wait, what? And they had already left for the day, but this person had like seen it through the window or seen a picture or
Oh
something. They
yeah.
thought it was a Confederate flag, and I was scared because I had never noticed before. I'm like, am I gonna have to like move parking lots? But no, it's a Norwegian flag. So if you ever can't find it, just look for the Norwegian flag.
Philosophically opposite flags. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. I should know better. I mean, I am from the capital of Confederacy, so I would have probably noticed if that's really what it was. But okay, Delton says if it is loud in the stadium, we will win. Noise cancels out the offense being able to fire off the line. I completely agree with you about that. I think US Bank Stadium is going to be the loudest it has been since the Minneapolis Miracle game, possibly. And I think that they're going to have a lot of issues with that, and they probably are going to have to use the silent count. I'm sure they're practicing that a lot this week.
Yeah, I think we talked about it on a different occasion, Sally, that the Houston Texans game a few weeks ago now, that son of a bitch was loud wall to wall. Like we were up by 20 points
Yes.
and nobody let up. It felt like it was still third down on every play. And yeah, the fans, I mean, all it takes is winning. Last year they were 2-6. I think it pissed a lot of people off. But that Texans game, man, it was hopping, and just a sample of what's to come this weekend.
It was. I was really impressed with it because it's usually when you go to the game in the second and third quarter, usually people, they chill out, especially on second down. They're not very loud at all. Third, maybe. Sometimes I got to yell at them to like actually pay attention in my section. And these first two games, the 49ers game and especially the Texans game, people were engaged the entire time, which was surprising given the gap in the score. So I think this game is going to be on a whole other level than we have seen in a regular season game. So I agree with that take, Delton, for sure. All right, let's get back to the game. So we've already discussed Aiden Hutchinson and what the impact that's going to be there. Their offense has been very explosive, especially the past few weeks. I mean, 2 weeks ago, Jared Goff didn't even throw an incomplete pass, and he had 100% completion rating in that game against Seattle at night. How do you think Flores is going to adapt the defense to shut down all of those weapons?
Well, he said today from the man's own lips that he's going to fight fire with fire, and he said it with a smirk because let's face it, Dan Campbell on his side of the operation on offense is kind of like Flores is on defense, where they're both gunslinger coaches, if you will, and super aggressive. So one of the cool parts about this Vikings defense and why it ranks number one in the NFL by both DVOA and EPA per play is that the pass rush is getting home organically. Last year, nobody remembers it, but the Vikings defense was really good in the middle of the season for 10 weeks. Really, really good. We just forgot about it because it all went to hell in December. But they were able to get a lot of pressure last year with their blitz packages and bringing Josh Metellus up. Although they will do that at times, or they will fake that like the threat. They don't really need to because Andrew Van Ginkel is such a badass. Jonathan Grenard damn near leads the NFL in pressures. By the way, you have Dallas Turner just for gravy. And then the unsung guys like Patrick Jones are top 5 sack merchants. Jihad Ward, they're throwing him in the middle of the defensive line on pass rushing downs. So the pass rush is getting home by itself. And that didn't happen last year. We had to conjure it with, defensive backs coming up on the line. So the reason that this defense can contain somewhat this really robust Lions attack is the pass rush is getting there mostly on its own. And then the cornerbacks for the Vikings are doing their job. If they make any other trades during the next 3 weeks, I hope it is for somebody like Jonathan Jones on the Patriots because we've had good health through 5 games with these veteran cornerbacks. But we all know one of them is going to get hurt. Maybe not season ending, but Mike Zimmer always said it, cornerbacks get hurt. And I would rather them have a guy like Jonathan Jones to pivot to rather than a Caleb Evans, who's having a really rough season. And then Fabian Moreau is pretty decent. He's there too. So that is my answer. The pass rush will get home on its own, although the Lions' offensive line is probably the best in football.
Yeah, I agree. I think that this is going to be definitely the toughest defense that the Lions have faced. I hope it's something that Jared Goff has never seen before and he doesn't even know how to respond to it. I can definitely see them getting a pick or two off of him. And hopefully that combined with the noise is going to just have a situation where Sam Darnold can be comfortable, bounce back from that performance against the Jets. This is going to, he's not going to have they don't have the backfield that the Jets had. He's going to be able to hopefully get it to Justin deep, all those deep passes that he kept attempting in London over and over and over again. Hopefully they will connect more this time. And I can see them getting out ahead early. They have such a better is it that they have only had one opening drive now that they did not convert?
I think so.
So, I mean, that stat is insane. When we had Kirk Cousins, remember how many 3 and outs we would have to start the game. So I think that they could get off to a quick lead here and really get into the heads of the Detroit Lions quick.
Yeah, there's a stat that I tweeted about a month ago that in the O'Connell era, I can't remember what it is now. Usually when they score first, they're in good shape. It's kind of like the turnover stat, the wild turnover stat. When the Vikings win the turnover battle or break even with Kevin O'Connell, they are 22-0. And then on the other hand, they're 3-14 when they lose the turnover battle. So yeah, when they score first, usually good things happen.
Absolutely. Okay, well, we have 91 people here now. Thank you guys for being here live. Make sure you like and subscribe. I think that it is okay. So I'm sure you've seen some of the cutesy trick plays that the Lions have been executing, which is something that Dan Campbell loves to do. Do you think that this defense is preparing for those type of plays, or do you think that they're probably going to be in a position where they're not even going to be able to get that cute?
Ooh, the unusual thing about Dan Campbell is he'll try cutesy whenever the hell he feels like it. Like they can be up just rubbing the Cowboys' nose in it, or it can be 17-17 with 2 minutes left in the fourth, and they're going to do. So no, I think that is fair game at any time. And as far as you can prepare it, the point of a trick play is that it's supposed to come out of nowhere. So yeah, I think by now Dan Campbell has established himself as a guy who's going to pull that type of shit. And so, yeah, they have to be ready for it. Although, you can only usually get away with those once per game, and let's just hope it's not for a touchdown.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting for me to see how many times he's going to go for it on fourth down. It seems like he's been doing that significantly less this year so far, but I want to say, was it last year or 2 years ago? He went for it on like every single fourth down when he was at US Bank Stadium. Was so unsuccessful on almost all of them until the end of the game.
I think it was the shove game in 2021 where he went it was the same territory of the field. It was like in between the 40s, and every time he went for it, I'm pretty sure that was the 2021 game where Kirk and Zimmer shoved.
Yes, I think he's chilled a little bit on it since then, but he might get that way, and I don't know if it's going to go well for him. All right. Do we have anything else that we want to touch on here? Let me see the chat. Somebody asked the best halftime show that I have ever seen. I want to say that was 2 years ago. Ludacris. It was Ludacris was here, and I got to be on the field for that. So that was a really cool experience because there wasn't a lot of people down there. I mean, maybe like 30 people. So that was really fun. However, I think if I get invited to go on the field in the future for any other halftime shows, unless it's somebody I really want to see, I don't think that I will do it because we had to spend almost the entire second quarter in this tunnel that you go through to go out and run out into the field. So we couldn't see almost the entire second quarter of that game. And there's no TVs or anything in that tunnel. So we're trying to pull it up on our phone and watch it. But obviously there's not the best service down there. So I don't think I would have that experience again, unless, like I said, it's somebody that I absolutely wanted to see. But we had some good halftime shows there for a while. We had Flo Rida one year, and we had T-Pain also one year.
They just showed up out of nowhere. I want to say the 2022 season. They were like, all right, now we do sweet halftime concerts. And I was like, what? And I've been going to games of that building since it opened, religiously. And they just started that. One quick halftime story, which is quite funny. During the comeback game against the Colts, December 2022, the same guy I've been referencing all show, Yannick Eckhart, he was over in the United States for the first time. And I was trying to get him to leave that Colts game because they look like so utter shit. And my memory, before things got really glorious, was they had I think it was the dogs playing frisbees.
Yes.
And that was the highlight of the Sunday. I told Yannick, I was like, well, at least you got to see this. You can't see this everywhere. So yeah, that comes to mind on halftime shows.
The Dogs is definitely the best halftime show that they have, other than those the three concerts that they've had. I think they did a country concert earlier this season, but it wasn't somebody that I was familiar with,
Yeah.
so I think I didn't care. But the Dogs are always so fun. They should do the Dogs more often, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone loves dogs, and they've had what I like it better when they do the corgi races, or I don't think they've done the bulldog races, but other places have, other than just like the frisbee tricks. I like
Yeah.
when there's a lot of dogs there. But
Mm-hmm.
all right, what else did we have in the chat? Somebody else had a question for you. Oh, Patrick Peterson. I did not see the interview with Patrick Peterson, but did you see that where he said that he wants to come back? And what are your thoughts?
Yeah, he was on the Zach Gelb show 2 days ago, and he's in playing shape. He's the same age as Stephon Gilmore. He has more Pro Bowls than Stephon Gilmore. He's probably going to be a Hall of Famer. They asked him if he's ready to go. He said, "I'm ready to go." And what Zach Gelb did was say, "So you're going to a Super Bowl contender?" He's like, "So what is that? The Chiefs, the Ravens, the Vikings, the Lions?" And Peterson said, "Yeah, those would work." And then he launched into a speech about spending 9 months with Kevin O'Connell on the Vikings and how much he loved it. So the easiest fix to my warning that one of the cornerbacks could get hurt would be to go sign Pat Pete for $1 million or whatever it would be, and then he could be the emergency starting cornerback for the playoff push. That'd be a lot cheaper than a trade for Jonathan Jones. But yeah, the guy wants to be here, and I think fans would welcome it so long as we realize that he's getting close to the end.
Okay, so any answer on the super chat? I'm not sure what that's referencing, so ask me again if it's something that I missed. SKOL Taya Catch 84, if I'm sure I'm messing that up, wants to know the Lions like to play man coverage with Hutchinson out. Do you think they will go to zone?
No, I don't think they will alter the game plan because I wouldn't be surprised either way, but no, I think they'll stick to it the way that it is. It's a good question.
Okay. I don't know. Okay, yeah, ask that question again if I missed it. I'm sorry about that. Okay, I think we are good on the questions unless if that one pops in. Oh, okay. Trade
Trayvon Walker or Myles Garrett?
Yeah, sorry, I couldn't read it. Yes, there we go. Sorry about that.
Yeah, there have been folks that have emailed me for our Vikings territory mailbag whether or not I'd trade the first rounder from next year. And my answer is I got to see who the player is. If it's Dexter Lawrence, like we've kind of the fan driven rumor mill has chirped, of course. Myles Garrett, yes, I would do that. we hope the pick will be in the 20s. Yeah, I would trade that thing for an established pass rusher. I don't know if Trayvon Walker quite moves the needle for me, but Myles Garrett or Dexter Lawrence in a heartbeat. I don't know. We don't even really need a pass rusher, though. Yeah, no, I just got to thinking about it.
I know. I don't really even know what we need. I mean, if there's something that you can't refuse, if you really think this is your Super Bowl season and that's going to take you to the next level, then absolutely do it. Yeah, I think Sam Darnold is going to embarrass the Lions this weekend as well. I think that Sam is going to bounce back from that Jets performance. Don't you, Dustin?
Yeah, I was. No, I was not paranoid. So I will admit he looked pretty pedestrian against the Jets when Aaron Jones left. But I realized that that's what the Jets defense under Robert Saleh was known for, was that just really blustery secondary that was a pain in the ass. And hey, Sam Darnold is allowed to have mid games for me. I don't think he's going to be this super stellar superstar for the next 12 games. He's going to have games where he's just kind of decent, and that's fine with me. I've said it a couple times, especially with you associated on the show, Sally. I think Kevin O'Connell's getting to the spot where he just needs a guy who's pretty good. He needs Brad Johnson every week, and then they have a puncher's chance to win. And I think Sam Darnold can be more than that, but I don't hold Darnold to the standard of like, oh my God, he didn't throw 3 touchdowns this week. That's not how I view him. I view him as house money right now, and he'd have to really get into the toilet for me to get down on him.
And someone just said on the screen that, we're going to be drafting in the 30s anyway. It's not as valuable of a first round pick as we once thought. So I don't know if anyone's even really that interested in it anymore. But thank you, Mary. I saw you had to go. Thanks for joining. And then Rocked on Detroit's Lions is here, who I believe want us to do their show this week, so we need to connect on that. But yeah, I don't think that they really need a pass rusher. But all right, any 100 people here, thank you guys so much for watching. Do we have any closing thoughts on the Lions before we move on to our Survivor League picks?
Oh shit, I forgot to do my homework on that. My closing thoughts, I don't have them on the Lions. I think the Vikings will win 30-23, but I want folks to remember this real briefly. It probably is a diminished theory because we sent the conditional 6th in 2026 for Cam Akers, but Adam Thielen will be conveniently healed up from his hamstring injury right around the trade deadline, and I don't know why he'd want to play for a team that is like 1-7 at the trade deadline. And so I wouldn't be surprised if he came back to the Vikings in a WR3, WR4 capacity. CBS Sports had him in the trade rumor mill going to the Steelers. For you lifelong Adam Thielen fans, I would expect him to at least get attention in the trade rumor mill.
I hope that does not happen because I am bitter about Adam Thielen and the way that he wanted out of here so adamantly. Because for one, they criticized Stephon Diggs for doing that. Adam didn't outright do it, but Caitlin Thielen liked a ton of tweets about Stephon forcing his way out and how he wasn't a good teammate, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then Adam Thielen went and did something very similar. He was very frustrated that he wasn't getting the targets that he thought he deserved, and he made some comments that he was not happy with. He didn't see eye to eye with this coaching staff, which that's the only person we've ever heard say anything negative about this coaching staff. He said he wanted to leave. Good for you. Get your bag. I understand you want more playing time. You deserve to have that. But you go to the Carolina Panthers and say you want to play for a contender. Well, that's kind of hypocritical, but that's fine. But then to act like you want to come back and put your tail between your legs and, oh yeah, I really want to come back and play. It's just I'm over it. I don't need to see it personally. But Chad Beebe is demand. Chad Beebe, I do believe is available. All right, here. I saw somebody else. Okay, hi Gary. I hope that you can vet that Thor and make sure he's the real one. He kind of asked a peculiar question earlier, so I'm not positive, but. Sunday's game, will we redo the win-loss record for the team? I will not redo it this week because I won't owe them the apology yet. I will not owe them the apology for 2 weeks, I believe. But once I get there, I will. And I will give my full-on apology segment, absolutely, because they deserve it. And I deserve to be ridiculed for my wrongs. I'm trying to right them, though. But okay, guys, we're going to wrap this up. If you guys are familiar with Survivor League, I usually host Survivor Leagues on an app called Splash Sports throughout the season. I love doing Survivor Leagues because they're simple to understand, but you do still need to use strategy. If you've never played a Survivor League before, how it works is you pick a team who you think is going to win this week, and then you cannot pick that team again throughout the rest of the season. You can only pick them once. So when you get towards the end, you do have to use quite a bit of strategy because there's not going to be a lot of teams left. However, this season, we had about almost 400 people in the league, and over a third of the people chose the Bengals in week 1. So needless to say, the league wrapped up very quickly. So we're going to be launching a new one this week for our Redemption Survivor League. And I don't know if the link is in the description, but if not, I will just check it on my Twitter. It's a $10 entry, and then the winner wins everything. And if we get over $100 or 100 entries this time, I'm going to be giving prizes out to the top 3. So not the first person will still win all the cash, but then I'm going to do Vikings jersey of your choice, and then some other sort of prize for the top 3. So make sure you get in on that. But we're redeeming ourselves here. Did you already get yours, Dustin, or should I do mine first?
No, I went peeked at the schedule real quick.
Okay. All right. You go first. Who's going to be your Survivor redemption pick this week?
Yeah. So when I look at these, I try not to pick the most damn obvious one because I know that I'll end up needing that team later. I think the Rams are desperate at 1-4 for a dub. The Raiders are not frightening to me one bit with Aiden O'Connell and Gardner Minshew, and now Devontae Adams doesn't even work there. Jacoby Myers is hurt. They're not in a good spot. So I take the Rams out of necessity to beat the Raiders in my Survivor pick.
I agree with you. I have a similar thought process. Somebody asked, where is the victory tailgate party? I will have the tweet pinned that morning to show you the exact location of where you can find it. But I do host pretty much the only after party in the tailgate lot. So we would love to see you there. It's going to be a victory party for the ages. I don't know if there's going to be one that's lit that we can compare it to. The hat and shirt game after the 34-0 comeback was pretty legendary. However, it was really cold, so it wasn't. This is going to be great weather. It's going to be 70 degrees. So it's going to be really fun. So make sure that you stop by. Like I said, just look for the Norwegian flag. Oh, no, don't look for the Norwegian flag. Never mind, don't. They will be long gone. They leave before I even get back to the car. So don't look for that, but it should be easy to find. Okay, my Survivor League pick is going to be, there is the Washington Commanders. The Panthers are at the Washington Commanders. I am going to pick Washington. First of all, it's pretty easy to pick whoever's playing the Panthers since they do only have one win, but I am loving Jaden Daniels. He is just so fun to watch. The Commanders, they played really well against the Ravens last week. I mean, they held their own in that, at least the first half of the game. And it wasn't Jaden's fault that they didn't win. So I think that's going to be a really good bounce back game for them. And they are going to be my pick. So, all right, guys, make sure you join the Survivor League. I will put the link on, like I said, but we would love to have you guys. I see a lot of people said that they would pick the Vikings. That's a pretty risky week one selection, but we would welcome you to the league for sure if that's how risky you're going to be on the first week. Okay, Dustin, what are your predictions against the Lions? Win, loss, what do you see?
Yep, 30-23 Vikings. The Lions haven't beat the Vikings 4 times in a row in 61 years, and I don't think it starts now. If Aiden Hutchinson was playing, I'd probably make this a little closer. Might even pick the Lions. But I think the Vikings, I'm so used to heartbreak, and I'm just sick of that bullshit, so they're going to win this one.
I'm with you. I don't know about us. I hate making a score prediction, but I think what you guessed is pretty close. I'll say maybe 31-21 or something like that. But I do think that the defense is going to get after it. It's going to rattle them, and their offense is not going to flow like it normally does. So, all right, guys, thank you so much for tuning in to Skoldiers and Spice on the Vikings First and SKOL Network. Please subscribe and like. It really helps us out a lot. And this was a fun live show. We've had over 100 people. So thank you so much, Dustin, for joining me. Those of you who don't know Dustin, you can follow him on Twitter at Dustin Baker and subscribe to the VikesNow YouTube channel. They post every single day, daily Vikings content. So definitely check it out.
Yeah, let's chat again in about 3 weeks or whatever, okay?
Let's do it. We'll be like 8, it's 9-0 then.
All right, take it easy.
Oh my God, you too. All right, thanks guys. SKOL.
Like, subscribe, and ring the bell. And rate us on your favorite aggregator. And a big shout out goes to Sal and her guests on this Vikings First and SKOL production, partnered with the Fans First Sports Network. Thanks, everyone, and SKOL.